Kyle is a graduate of our Colorado Alpha chapter at the University of Colorado Boulder and has spent his career focusing on really the people that make up our workforce. So he is a consultant, a developer, a trainer, and is currently the senior director of learning and development for Extreme Reach. We're happy to have him with us tonight. He's going to talk with you about motivating people and moving momentum from today through the summer with your chapter. And then in our small groups, we're going to take that conversation and dig in even more about how do we wrap up this spring effectively and send our seniors off in really effective ways. I know when you're thinking about programming in the late spring, senior send-offs is something you're thinking about. So we'll talk about that specifically in the small groups. But without further ado, I will pass it over to Kyle.
All right. Well, that was one of the most gracious welcomes I've gotten in a long time. So thank you, Ben. And thank you, everybody, for allowing me to spend a few minutes to talk to you about the three topics that you see in front of you. And you guys can see my screen, right, Ben? Oh, can you see my screen?
Yep, can see it.
Okay. So thank you. And, as Ben said, all of these are three topics that are near and dear to me. And I was kind of surprised when he reached out to me and asked me to talk about these things, because they're all topics that come up in my daily life as, a trainer, a coach, an HR representative. So I'm going to start with, let me just click to the next slide. So I'm going to give you just 60 seconds, a little bit about me. We're going to talk about rewards and celebrating successes, and what does reward actually mean to you. I'm going to talk about an AAR, which is something that I experienced several times in my career that I think it just sort of tags on to the celebrating successes in sort of the professional world. And then I'm going to talk to you just for a few minutes about motivating people and leadership traits. And I forgot my last thing, but the last one is going to be around some key tips to leadership. So this is always my best way to talk about who I am. So I was born in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and when I left Green Bay, went to the University of Colorado, and as Ben said, I was a Colorado Alpha, and started my career probably 35 years ago as one of the pioneer snowboarders at the University of Colorado. I actually started the University of Colorado Snowboard Club, but I still snowboard today and just finished a 200 mile on my snowboard season at 53 years old. So I'm still going strong. I lived in Italy for a couple of years, was a nanny for a couple of Italian children. And then I moved to San Francisco, which is where I sort of started my training career. And I actually started as a preschool teacher and then moved into the advertising realm, working just as a trainer. Got hired by Interpublic Group, which is a holding company for a lot of different advertising agencies, and really started to hone my training skills and do training at all sorts of advertising agencies. But at that point, for me, it was just basic, computer training. Then I went into consulting, and I worked at Diamond Management, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and another consulting agency. And that's where I really, jettisoned my career into the leadership, the coaching, the professional skills, and to kind of really catapulted me to where I'm at today. And now for the past 5 to 7 years, I've been at Extreme Reach, and they power the world of video advertising. So we pay all the people, the talent, the musicians that you see in commercials. We also send those annoying ads that when you go to YouTube and an ad comes up that you got to click off of before you go to, my company distributes those ads, and we work with advertising agencies. But my role in the agency as the senior director of learning and development is to coach, to lead, to guide people, to be an advocate of, sort of the entire company from a learning, development, coaching perspective. So that's just a little bit about me. So, when we talked about when what does reward mean to me, and what does it mean to you? And I thought about this a lot. And the first thing that everything that comes to mind when you think of reward is money. Okay. Yes. And reward when you're starting off in your career, or, you're accomplishing things, you want to be rewarded monetarily, and that's very important. And, one of the last things here, moving to the next level that comes with the monetary part is the promotion. So the promotion, yes, the money, and that's all stuff that you should all be aspiring to as you move forward in your careers and your life, but these two inner ones, the feeling of accomplishment and am I learning and growing, you know, I really challenge you to think about that and those as being things that become rewards to you as you're celebrating your successes, whether small or big, or, hey, I'm finishing the semester, I finished a hard class, whatever it is, because these two things, the money and the moving to the next level, they're far and few between. The promotions, they can come maybe once a year, once every 5 years. And what I find that with a lot of the people that I coach, and especially a lot of the younger generation that comes in and really is eager and they're really good at what they do, is that if they don't get these two things, they don't feel like there's any rewards in what they're doing, and they have a lack of self-confidence or a lack of gratification in their job. So I try to remind people and friends and colleagues that, really feeling the accomplishment of what you're doing, and hey, I learned and grown, like that's a reward for me. And personally, the example for me is, I've grown in my career, I make a nice salary, and yeah, reward and promotion, I'm at a senior level, that's all great. But the reward for me that I get is when I see somebody under me grow. And I've seen two people that I've coached over the years get promoted, one into a VP, one into a director over the past 6 months. That's a reward for me. That's what makes me excited about my job, and being happy in my work, happy in what I do, happy with the relationships I have with the people that I'm leading and working with. That's a reward to me. So I thought, that's just something that I think is important to think about, that yes, we always want, to strive for the monetary and the moving to the next level, but the rewards and that feeling of gratification can come in so many other ways other than that. So just a few points on that. So, the celebrating successes part. So, I put size doesn't matter. And, what I mean by that is that I live in a world right now where it's very chaotic. What I do, I lead a very senior team of professionals that are, older than me, and I'm 53. So, they're very senior. We service clients all over the advertising industry, and what they do and the problems they fix every day are have cost to them. So if they don't solve a problem quickly or unwind something, there could be tens of thousands of dollars, or you might not see an ad on TV. So, but we also do a lot of project work, and we finish these 6 month year-long projects. And if I don't celebrate those small successes that we see every week with them, and I'm not talking big celebration where we're going to get together, we're going to drink, because we're all remote, and my team lives in different states. But I celebrate by congratulating them, thanking them, something as simple as a thank you, or reaching out and calling them, hey, let's sit back, or just calling them to talk about how hard it was and how great it was, and rewarding them, through just a nice conversation. So, if I don't give them the small ones along the way, and again, and that could, in my personal life, it's even with my friends, I'm always happy when they have small successes, and we see it all the time on Facebook, people doing things and stuff. And there's a balance, right? You can't be, I don't give this celebration and this reward to my employees on everything, but we unwind some crazy stuff. So I'm very happy that I'm able to do it for the small, and it matters to them. They feel like I am noticing them. I'm noticing their work. I'm noticing their successes, and it feels good to them. So the large ones, and I put this thing about what's called an AAR, and it's something that I experienced when I was at PricewaterhouseCooper, and they used to do it in a sort of a after project. You're a consultant, you work for maybe a year, 6 months with a certain team. You work very hard, late nights, and then everything ends, and then right away you move on to the next project. Well, what they did in consulting, and it actually is something that came from the Army, and they used to do it after military exercises. But basically, you reflect on the project, what you did, the accomplishment, share the pitfalls, and learn from it, and try to learn and not overcome those for the next project. Now, it was great in consulting because what they would do is, after these long hard projects these teams would be on, is they'd take them out for a really nice dinner. Everybody would drink and have a nice dinner. Sometimes they'd even fly them to a location, but it really was a wonderful celebration for all the hard work that they do. And excuse me. And for my team and what I do, when Ben had called me and he wanted me to talk about celebrating successes, it was a unique moment because one of my colleagues, who's very fatigued and moves from project to project to project, and teams to teams to teams, and is working with people, he said to me, he's like, Kyle, I'm just exhausted and I don't know what to do. But here's what I think the problem is that we never stop to celebrate our successes. We have 3 projects or 3 things on our plate that are right behind us, so we don't stop and actually say, hey, Robert or Ben, you did a great job. Wow, that was hard. Let's have a virtual toast, or just whatever it is to relieve yourself and say, hey, we did a great job, let's celebrate it, because there's 3 other things that are already on our plate, we're already assigned to. So what I've tried to do as a leader is take that breath, for the bigger things that my team does, step back, and I encourage you again, as you're finishing your semester, your year, you're pledging, whatever it is, that, you have succeeded over the past semester or year, and you're going on into the summer, celebrate it and remember it, brag about it. And I really think that, a lot of times that, just we don't do that enough. And in the corporate world, I see it less and less, because you get caught, resources are tight, and you keep getting caught up in the daily world of just project after project. So I hope that gives you a little bit of something to sort of reach out and celebrate with your brothers, your colleagues, and again, it doesn't have to be a major accomplishment. It just could be a happy conversation. All right, motivating people and continuing momentum. And Ben, please let me know if I'm going way over time. Okay.
Yep, we're doing good.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, so motivating people, and this is something again that I feel like I'm very good at. It's something that I work at very hard in my leadership style. So I try to think of some of the things that make me successful, as a motivator of people, and how do I motivate people around me, and how do I motivate them for the next project, or the next semester, or the next leadership opportunity, or whatever it is. And one of the things that I always come back to, no matter what it is, whether in leadership or any of the professional skills that I facilitate, it's trust. And trust is the foundation, and it has to come first. And what I mean by that is, I've come into teams that I don't know anybody in the team, and I'm the leader. And I've taken over teams where nobody knows me. They all maybe know more than me, and they are people that are maybe more senior than me, come from different walks of life. And if I go in there and I'm trying, as a leader, and I'm trying to tell them how to do things and change, the way they are without talking to them, learning about them and building their trust first, they have no reason to believe that anything that I'm going to do is going to have any action. So, me as a leader, I feel like what I do when I come into any new leadership situation is I build trust first. And I do that by having conversations, and it comes through actions and empathy and the next point, which is communicating often and never forgetting the human element. So, motivating my team, who, as I said, again, we work very hard, and, we have crabby advertising clients that are, complaining about this and that all day. So, how do I keep them motivated? And how do I, keep them engaged in their work and happy to come to work every day, or happy to be on my team? And I find that communicating with them is the key, and communicating with them often, meaning verbal conversations. I call them, and now in the time of COVID and the video, I'm having more video. I haven't seen my team. My team is remote, so I see them more now than I ever have. So, that human element in asking them how they're doing, and, also having sort of the empathy for their personal life, everything else going on in addition to what's going on in work. And, also, again, going back to, the celebrating and those small, successes and rewards and compliments that I give them every day helps them in the motivation. But I can't do that. Sometimes it's via email. I don't really text with my team. That's more, motivating my friends and family. But I feel that actual verbal communication is so key to motivating people, and staying positive. A little bit of laughter, levity, all of that helps, in motivation. Leveraging strengths and different social styles. So, uh, my team, again, they have different strengths. I have different personality styles, different work styles. And one of the things that helps me to be able to motivate them is I know what they like to do. I know what their strengths are. I ask them, I engage them in the work that they like to do. We collaborate. They know that, hey, one person is more of a heads down, doesn't really like to communicate, via phone a lot. We all accept that, and it works. So, I really try to leverage that in motivating people is, what are their strengths, and, talking about it with them and saying, hey, you're really good at that. I think you'd be a great person to lead this, or to take that project on, or to take that to the next level. And last but not least, engage, laugh, and have fun. I mean, that is the key to a lot of, what I do to motivate, engage, and, reward people. A little bit of laughter, goes a long way, especially today. So, if you have fun in lieu of, whatever the situation is, the hard day, the hard work, whatever it is, a little bit of laughter, always engages my team. And, to them, I think that's one of the rewards I give them is they can call me, no matter how stressed they are or what the problem is, and I can make them laugh. And we have to solve the situation. We have to take action, seriously, but we can do it in a fun and, a little bit more of non-serious way. And I actually like this little thing. Life is like a camera. Focus on what is important, capture the good times, develop from the negative. If things don't work out, take another shot. A perfect metaphor for everything I'm talking about. Okay, so some tips for leadership. So, new leaders, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And, I went on Google and I just tried to find some leadership quotes. And I have been in leadership for probably around 2 decades now. I've been through so many leadership classes myself. I've taken them. I've taught different leadership classes. I think there's all sorts of, it's something that we could all spend weeks and months and, even years talking about. But, one thing a few tips that I wanted to give you as possibly new leaders or leaders that are leading your chapters or whatever, is that, I've experienced the good, the bad, and the ugly. And with new leaders or leaders that are in difficult situations, um, some of the skills and the key skills that I found that have worked for me, excuse me, let me just take a drink of water quick, are the ones that I found below. Now, when you talk about leadership, there is probably, 50 to 100 different skills that we can talk about. But the ones that are the core to what I have found are really the key to success, other than, delegation and, some of the executive skills, once you really move up to the, the C-level suite of executive, are coaching, feedback, communication, and managing change. Now, coaching, again, is something that I think it's something that if you become a good coach and you can coach not only, your colleagues, your coworkers, your friends, your peers, it is something that can benefit you in so many ways as new leaders. And it's not easy becoming a coach, because the other skills below it also are part of what makes a great coach. And feedback is something that I've been teaching for about a decade now, and the ability to give and receive feedback. And I think, one of the things that makes me a good coach and allows me to coach, my people at Extreme Reach, is that I'm able to give feedback, and I give it in a very fair and positive and constructive way. So that means listening and being able to give the hard message, but the hard message doesn't have to always come a hard way. And feedback is something that I'm very passionate about. And I think the ability for you to be able to go to anybody that and say, hey, I think we could do better, and this is how, and what do you think, and engage in the conversation, not only with the positive feedback. It's really easy to say, hey, you did a great job, and that the reward and the success part, but feedback in life and the constructive, so I grow and I learn, and we can move not only us, my family, the company, the chapter, everybody forward. Very important and a great skill. The communication, and I'm moving kind of fast because I feel like I'm running out of time, but the communication piece, the one thing I will say about communication in this day and age, and what I've seen over the past decade in my professional life, is that the verbal part is becoming less and less, and the written part is also becoming less and less. And what I mean by that is people are sending shorter emails. We're in this world of texting and short little sentences. So I encourage you, and it just, as you start your professional lives and whatever, and I'm sure a lot of you probably already do this, but it's something that I just see so common, is the hello and the thank you in every email, and the verbal communication. I was in consulting, and I watched MBAs come out of into PwC, and they were so smart, but their verbal communication, they couldn't sit and talk like we're talking, or have a conversation like we're having. And it was like a fish out of water. So just talking in that verbal part is so important, from a leader. And it all ties back into if you can communicate verbally, you're going to be able to give feedback and coach. And then managing change, that is the one thing that has been resoundingly clear as a leader and in life, and as you probably all seen during the times of the pandemic, is managing change as a leader and getting people through change is such an important skill. And our lives are changing, weekly, monthly, daily. The business world is changing. I woke up this week and my company acquired a huge company, AdStream, and now we just went global 2 days ago, and have so change is always happening. And I am an agent of change. I love change. I accept it. The communication, the people skills, the motivation, motivating people because things are gonna be different. That's always important. So again, these four skills are just have been so critical to my success, and they've things that I really tend to focus on, even today in my own career. Accountability and action, and again, a leader has to have action, and accountability is something that is often not talked about in the professional world very often. Be accountable for your mistakes, be accountable for your successes, be accountable for everything you say and do. And as a leader, I am not shy to say, hey, I made a mistake, and how can I do that better, and I'm sorry. And in my world, in the professional world, that means possibly some financial consequence, but I'm going to own up to it, and I'm not going to try and divert it to anybody else or the team, but if anything, I'm going to take it for the team. So accountability, and holding your people accountability for what they say, what they do, and everything, is so important. And then finally, in my last few minutes, and I'm not going to go into detail about this, but again, I've said I've been through so many leadership models, I've seen so many, but the one that and I can't give you, and I don't think anybody can give you in a day or a week, how to be a leader, like Bill Gates or Barack Obama or anything like that. But the one model that I do like, and if you are interested in finding an actionable leadership model that works, that I have held tried and true and facilitated, and I'd be happy to give any of you any more detail on after this, is situational leadership. And really what, and you can read this as I'm talking, but really what situational leadership is it's a leadership model that bases your leadership by the individual's development on a certain task or project that they're working on. So I always use a great example is, and the way it works is that if I'm a leader, and let's say Ben, I'm going to tell Ben to fly an airplane, and Ben has never flown an airplane in his life. Well, I'm going to match my leadership style to Ben, because I know Ben is going to need me to sit there with him and tell him every button to press. He's never done it before. He's done the training, but I'm going to need to be there for him. I'm going to need to ask him for help. Whereas, Ryan, who has been flying airplanes for 30 years, if I say, hey, go fly that airplane, and I sit and do the same leadership style that I did for Ben, Ryan's going to kick me out of the cockpit and possibly out of the plane. So, it really is an actional leadership where by conversation, and before I'm giving somebody a new task or a new project or something to do, I ask them, hey, how comfortable are you with that? Have you ever done this before? How can I help you? And if they say, hey, I got this, I've flown airplanes, dozens of times, I'll come to you if I need any help, I'm there, then great. If they say, hey, wow, I've never done this before, I'm going to need you, well, then I'm going to check in with them, and I'm going to match my leadership style. So it's not leading people as a group and trying to motivating them to be executives. It's about leading them by the development of whatever you're giving them as a task or a project or whatever it is. So I really found this is something that you can take out and you can use immediately as leaders. So I have lots of information on it. If you have any questions or you'd like to dig in further, I'd be happy to talk to any of you about it. So that was the quickest that I've ever went through any of those topics individually. I hope that was okay. I hope I didn't talk too fast. But again, it's all stuff that I'm very passionate about. And thank you again for allowing me to come talk to you this evening.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kyle. And guys, you can take down Kyle's contact information right there. He said that he'd be willing to make himself available for you. But we do have a few questions, Kyle, while you're still with us.
Sure.
So Connor from Wright State wants to know, how do you inspire confidence in others? So likely these vice presidents of programming are going to have members on their committee where have never been in a leadership position before. What's your advice to help others feel more confident in their role?
I mean, I think I always let them know that they have me as support. And if not me, maybe it was, another brother that previously filled that role, give them, a coach or a mentor or somebody that they can lean on, so they don't feel like, okay, this is going to happen. Who do I go to? I don't have anybody, because you do have questions, and just inspiring them along the way, checking in with them. Again, it's the communication. Like after, I don't know what, maybe it's the first meeting, or after, 2 weeks, and the person's in this new role. Hey, how's it going? Let them know that you're there, and, I'm really struggling and I need some help. And that kind of goes to that situational leadership model. But I think, inspiring in them, and again, giving them, hey, that's awesome that, you created that Excel spreadsheet, or you did that, like awesome. Okay, so what next? What else can I help you with? Oh, nothing. Like that inspires people, and I think it gives them, a little bit of motivation. You can't give them false words. You can give them, like, you don't want to give them all that rah 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 stuff, because it they can't do anything with it. But they can do something with knowing that, hey, I can call Ben if I need help, because he did this before me, or he's a great resource, or like, who are those people? So maybe identifying them, and if it's not you, then who else?
Yeah, that's awesome. Kyle, we're getting a lot of questions and not a ton of time. So I'm going to combine two questions, one from Clay
Sure.
from Missouri State and one from Peyton from Ohio Iota. So Clay's question is really about how do you motivate or lead people that don't want to be motivated or led. I can think of a lot of chapters across the country. They might have a group of guys that aren't really looking to change or follow the direction of the executive board. And so to take Peyton's question into it, what's the best way to communicate to a large group of people that includes individuals that don't want to be led or don't want to change?
So is the question about, how to motivate them about the change, or to, also make them inclusive in the change, in the decision, or are they communicating the change? Just want to make sure I understand the question.
Yeah, Clay or Peyton, if you guys want to unmute and clarify, you certainly can.
I think the question was more focused around just how do you get that group to actually want to be involved in the change, rather than just like be someone in the background that listens to what everyone else is wanting to change.
Is there a way you can get them in? Are they involved in the change already? Were they involved in what it, the decision making, or is this something that, hey, we made the decision, we want you guys on board, for the change, and there's a distinction, right?
Yeah, that's hard.
Because
It's kind of like mixes between the groups. There's a couple different groups that are involved, or people who have been on exec, who have prior experience and don't like how the exec board now is running things. And there's a group that's never been involved in the chapter and doesn't want to experience change because they've been so used to the previous exec boards, but obviously
yeah,
times are different now.
yeah, and I'm sure you've had all sorts of discussions around, collaborative, hopefully collaborative discussions around, why this change is happening. I mean, that's it's a hard question to answer, because, typically what I've found, and it's hard to do this all the time, is, including people in the decision about the change, but you can't always do that, because, you have two sort of parties are thinking, thought and this happens a lot in my world, where you have the old world, or the old guard, that has been doing things a certain way, and we need to change, and we need to do things a new way. The best you can do is, unless you can include the people somehow that are the people that are resistant to the change, include them somehow, in the decision, maybe reach out to them one-on-one and see, why they are, is there anything that, we can do to help, but we really need to meet this or make this change. But, you have to stick true to the changes that are best for the chapter, for you. And, there's always going to be in change, there's always going to be some, some hard band-aids to take off, right? And, I think just communicating it and the why and the benefits it has to, in my case, it would be the organization, the team, us. I think that's all you can really do at that point, but usually, from a retrospect perspective, I always try to include like my team, if anything's going to change, include them in the decision about what's going to change. And that's not always possible. So I hope that kind of answered your question, but it is a challenging situation that, comes up, in the business world a lot too.
Yeah, Kyle, we have some great questions here, but we got to move the guys to their small groups.
Okay,
so
I'm sorry, I probably went a little bit over, but
the thing
again,
is you
take down my
provided great
email,
content. Yeah,
and feel free to email me any of these questions. Reach out to me. My phone number's there. I'd be happy to talk to any of you and give any coaching or any professional advice or personal advice I can.
Yeah, really appreciate that, Kyle. And guys, those questions that you have, you're going to be in your small groups here in just a minute to be able to ask other vice presidents of programming and your facilitators that'll be waiting in the rooms for you. So one last thank you to Kyle for your time. And guys, we'll break out into our small groups now.
All right. Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure.